It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That is, as always, karting with a K, fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Get to Joe's Karting today, indoor karting at its fastest and at its best. That's Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, joeskartingwithak.com. Joining us on the phone is the host of NASCAR America and the pre-race show and post-race show when NBC has the NASCAR coverage. Krista Voda, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's the first time we've got to have you on the show, and we do love having all of our friends over at NBC come on the show and kind of keep us up to date with what's going on. I was kind of ashamed to learn this, and Dirk pointed it out, too, and we were talking before you joined us, that you are an Iowa native.
I am. From the other side of the state of you guys. I was from eastern Iowa, Quad Cities area. So we spent a lot of time, I was a gymnast when I was a kid. We would spend a lot of time in Council Bluffs, Sioux City, for gymnastics meets. So it's nice to talk to you guys.
Well, I was all excited when I found out you're an Iowa native, but then I found out you were a UNI graduate, and as a Hawkeye fan, that's a little tough to swallow.
Well, and tough, the last couple of weeks. Last week was a heart ride. It felt so bad for those kids on that basketball team. That meltdown in the last few minutes of that NCAA game. But proud Panther alum. So, and I root for the Hawkeyes too.
Okay.
Root for the Hawks too.
Meltdown for the Panthers. That's putting it nicely.
I know. Well, I have to since they took all my money and some of my brain cells in my college days.
Oh, I'm telling you, that was ugly. That was terrible.
Well, let's talk.
It's a great lesson. All kids out there inbounding the ball. You have to do the fundamentals. You have to be able to inbound the ball.
Absolutely. Do you ever get back home to Iowa very often, or are you pretty much rooted in North Carolina now?
Well, I get back as never as often as I would like. Most of my family is back there. Love going back to the Midwest, but am able with our schedule. Obviously, we when there's the races are in the Midwest, I try to take advantage and see family and friends. So for me, Indianapolis, Chicago, Kansas City are great ways to be able to do that. So never as much as I would like. The I-80 Speedway, used to go there for the truck races quite a bit. Fantastic facility, and the fans love it. Iowa fans are just so, Iowa and the Midwest. I know they pull in a lot of people from Nebraska, Minnesota. It's just a great facility.
So did you grow up on the dirt tracks there around eastern Iowa, like Farley and Dubuque and Davenport and West Liberty?
Yeah, and all great places. But no, I didn't really follow racing as a kid. I was a stick and ball sports fan. So, I competed, like I said, in gymnastics, played volleyball, ran track. But I followed, like everyone in Iowa, college wrestling, college basketball, college football. But I was a sports anchor in different markets and started covering NASCAR. And it just sort of kind of fell in love with it, and next thing you know, covered NASCAR and started covering sports car races, motorcycle races. It sort of found me, but I love it. Definitely my roots are still college basketball this time of year. I go nuts. My husband makes fun of me because I have, 6 brackets and I stay up late watching all the games. But racing now, it's just, that's my 24/7 and I love it.
That's kind of like how Dan got into it. I grew up with it. My dad raced when I was a kid. I can remember being 2 years old and helping him set the valves on the car by standing on the seat and punching the starter button. But I've been to all those tracks in eastern Iowa. I was an official for years. I used to work, I was based in the Craftsman Truck Series and worked cup races and whatnot on those joint weekends, but I've been out of it for about 10 years.
But once it's in your blood, though, I can tell.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
You started naming those places, I knew that you'd been there.
And I'd never been to a dirt race up until it was about 5 years ago now. It was the 2012 Spring Meltdown, so it was 4 years ago. And as soon as those cars went past me in a green flag race, that lap one, I was hooked. It was in my blood.
Well, and that's the thing, at NBC, we do a feature on NASCAR America called My Home Track. And we just give a little pop, a little shout out to different, local short tracks. And I get so much feedback because fans love to hear, especially if you're a young kid, a young racer, racing on a Friday or Saturday night, somewhere like those places you mentioned, or Eagle Raceway in Nebraska or Lernerville Speedway in Pennsylvania. You hear that name of your track that you pour your blood, sweat, and tears into, and it makes you feel connected to what we're talking about. We're talking about these heroes who these young kids want to be, and I think it sort of bridges that gap. So for all those young kids out there, our Rick Allen, our play-by-play announcer, that's where he got his start, was calling races at Eagle Raceway in Nebraska.
Yeah, I know Rick pretty well, and then Rick came along with back in 2002 or something with Speed Champ Channel when they took over the Craftsman Truck Series.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to see Rick every week, and we got to be friends because he was always asking me. I'd see him at a race, and go, "Well, what happened at Eagle, or what happened at I-80?"
Yeah.
Well, a couple of the
Rick and I have worked together a long time. We're great friends. So we love representing the Midwest and talking to fans from the Midwest. I think that's what we enjoy so much about our job is it takes us all across the country, and we get to meet race fans from everywhere. So going back to the Midwest is definitely some of my favorite weekends.
Well, the big question out there for I think a lot of fans are wondering right now is, have you been to a race at Knoxville yet?
I have not been to a race. I've been there to the track and have done some media things, but I have not been to. Oh my gosh, to go to the Knoxville Nationals would be amazing. But obviously that's right in our thick of our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But every time it's funny. I actually visited some friends in Des Moines when the race was in Kansas City last October, and as I was driving from Des Moines down to Kansas City, I thought I should just veer over and just go see it again, just go see the track. But
it is such a coliseum,
and it's just such all those events. The Knoxville Nationals, the Snowball Derby, Chili Bowl, all these great events. I mean, the Oxford 250 that takes place in Oxford, Maine in August. We were talking about that on the show earlier this week. It's so great because it is Eldora. I've been to many races at Eldora. It's just until you're there, it's not just a race, it's an event. And I think that's what's so exciting, and you get swept up in it.
Well, Knoxville's a lot like what we're going to today for Martinsville. It's essentially a dirt coliseum. It's really amazing how just immaculate it is. You walk into that place and you're in awe right away.
Well, and Martinsville just has so much history. For a new fan, if when they go there, they might think, well, it's not sharp and clean. It's old and gritty, and that's NASCAR's roots. And yeah, this track for today's race is just it's a piece of history. And you always think, I used to always write when I do the truck show there, I always write in my copy, for my for the show, if these walls could talk, because can you imagine the stories that they would tell?
Yeah. Well, we've been talking for 8 minutes and we really haven't gotten any news topics. So
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is what we love about our show. We've got a format, but if we break it just to have a good conversation about dirt racing and racing in general, let's break it and have some fun.
That's every Sunday for me. I work with Kyle Petty and Dale Jarrett. We have a format, and then we start telling stories, and those two start just talking, and the format goes right out the window. How
do you keep those two in line? I mean, honestly, it's got to be a task driving that bus down the road at a straight line.
She's got a taser.
That's what I need. I need to see if I can get that through NBC's expense report, if I can get a teaser for Kyle.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. announced this week that he's going to be donating his brain for science concussion research. I mean, the obvious question is he's going to wait a few years before he does that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go with the cheap joke.
No, we talked about this on the show, too. And one thing I pointed out, again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. knows the weight of his words. He knows when he says something, it's not just chit-chat. It becomes headline material.
It's going to the bank.
My thought is, he put it on Twitter in a casual conversation with a fan, and next thing you know, it's, headlines and sporting news. My fear of, gosh, we just take social media so seriously nowadays, and I wanted to take a step back and say, hey, to be fair to Dale, obviously he wouldn't say it unless he meant it, but like you said, it's not happening tomorrow. He hasn't probably signed papers, and there's a lot of process to go through for that. I think it's great that it generates discussion. It's a serious matter. It ties, obviously, NASCAR and the NFL together. But, Dale Jr. put out 26 tweets on March 20th on his flight from Fontana back to Carolina. The guy loves to have conversations with fans. I just wanted to be fair to him and say, hey, it's not, like you said, it's not happening tomorrow.
That's a lot of tweets for a guy who resisted Twitter for a very long time.
I know. Now he loves it.
Yeah.
He's just so normal. I mean, as big as he is in the sport, he's just a normal guy. If you read his profile, he doesn't say, I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr., the race car driver. He says, I'm the former backup soccer player from Mooresville High School. He's just so normal.
And there's a lot of these guys in the sport that are like that. I mean, you talk about Clint Boyer, who used to race at I-80 Speedway and is good friends with the Kosiskis, and obviously racing for H. Scott Motorsports and soon to go over to Stewart-Haas Racing. But the thing that I think fans love about him the most is he is a good old boy. He's a guy that if you catch him at the right moment, he's going to have a dip in his mouth, and he doesn't mind. I mean, it's not the most fan-friendly thing, but he doesn't care. He's probably going to have a beer if they would let him do it on TV.
Oh, absolutely. He wears flannel shirts. He has, out in the farm. He actually, he and my husband competes in tractor pulls. My husband's quite the farmer himself. He's actually the 2015 National Tractor Pullers Association Region 5 champion.
Wow.
In the Super Farm division. So they're just a little shout out for my husband. But Clint has my husband's tractor pulling schedule because he wants to, be at the tractor pulls and, help them out. So that's Clint. Clint is tractors and beer and flannel shirts.
And most of the guys are like that, actually. I mean, you get to know the drivers when you're an official, and I tried to explain that to Dan sometimes. I just go up to their haulers at the races and go walk right in. Hey, where's Brad Keselowski, or where's Carl, or the guys that I know that were in the truck series. And, Dan just stands clear in the back and like, oh, I can't believe you just did that. And I said, why? They're just people. I mean, when they know you by first name, go talk to them.
They're not. That's the guy that I watch on Sunday, though. I'm the starstruck guy that's trying to do a news show, and he's the guy that's just like, he puts his pants on the same as everyone else.
Yep, they have families. They travel as families to the racetrack. Clint travels with his wife and his little boy, and, his dad grew up, chasing them around dirt tracks, like you said, in the Midwest. And the first one that comes to mind when you say that, Dirk, about going up into haulers is Kenny Schrader.
Kenny was just in Nebraska this weekend. He did. They had a big racers reunion out in Grand Island, and Kenny was a featured speaker.
Oh, the ultimate racers racer, guy. And speaking of those tracks, I've been down to his track in Peevely, Missouri, I-55.
Yep.
So much fun.
Let's talk about new manufacturers coming into the sport. Ever since Dodge departed a few years ago, we've heard rumblings of maybe Honda or a couple of different engine manufacturers trying to get into the sport, but it kind of seems like Audi, the German-born company, is really kind of starting to make a real push to get into NASCAR. Have you heard anything about this or any more that we can add to it?
Nothing new, and I think it's always great, whether it comes to fruition or not. I think it just, again, generates the conversation, and it builds the hype, and it shows people that, hey, if other businesses, other manufacturers are looking, or NASCAR's on their radar, then something good is happening, and I think that's sort of no matter what comes of it, it's always good when people are watching your product, watching your sport, and not just watching it, but wanting to be involved.
We've been talking with Krista Voda, host of NASCAR America. You can catch it weekdays at 4 p.m. Central, and she is the host of the pre-race and post-race show when NBC takes over coverage during the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Outside of the track, Krista, what do you enjoy to do to kind of relax and to have some fun?
Well, I'm a mom. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, so pretty much any second that I'm not working is obviously spent with her. That's why I chase around a toddler and I pick up toys and say the word no a lot. But I mentioned my husband. We're at county fairs. If we're not at a racetrack, we're usually at a county fair or a tractor pull somewhere as a family. So love a good funnel cake and laying in the sun watching a tractor pull.
Oh, you gotta love them pork tenderloins all over eastern Iowa, though.
Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, you know what? A friend of mine works for a place in DeWitt, Iowa, and she travels, and I saw her in Phoenix, of all places, from DeWitt, Iowa to Phoenix, and she was working for the kiosk concession stand that was selling the pork tenderloins.
They're a staple in this area, and you know that as much as anybody else. We love our pork tenderloins.
And the Iowa State Fair. Talk about good food. Have you guys been to the Iowa State Fair in Des Moines?
It's a yearly trip for me.
Anything that's fried.
It's a must.
Fried and on a stick.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I take everybody and I say, listen, it's people watching and it's food. Do not worry about your cholesterol intake that day. You cannot worry about it because you're going to cut yourself short if you do.
And you just walk around enough, you just burn it all off.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Krista Voda, host of NASCAR America. Catch your weekdays at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Krista, we really do appreciate your time. Have a great time, and we look forward to seeing you back on the air for the pre-race coverage and post-race coverage of the Coke Zero 400.
And if we get a chance, we're going to track you down in Kansas here in a few weeks and say hello.
That would be fantastic. And if not, definitely in the fall. I'll be back there in October with NBC. So look forward to it.
Thanks, Krista. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we've talked about this before. You know my displeasure for the current broadcasters. Mm-hmm. And it's not them personally. I really do enjoy. I think Darrell Waltrip had his time with the sport, and
he's been out of the seat too long.
I think Mike Joy is a fantastic broadcaster. I think Jeff's going to get better, but there is something about that broadcast it's just, for me as a guy within the industry that understands how things should be laid out when you go into break, when you come out of break, and they're professionals at the top of their game. I went back and watched the spring Martinsville race, which obviously had the Fox broadcast. And then I went back and watched the October Martinsville race, which had the NBC broadcast. I can't even say it. I mean, night and day doesn't describe enough the difference between those two. And frankly, I think it really goes to show, because we've talked about 5 great races so far this year for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and all 5 races have been down in the ratings. And I think it's just, people are just kind of, the Fox is just kind of this good old boy, just an old style of doing it, when NBC is like the cutting edge, and they're finding new ways to describe how these drivers are driving and the ways that they're going about it, and it's just so riveting.
Well, I think that's why Jeff Gordon's in the booth now for Fox, trying to bring some of that just off the track blood in, which is what NBC did with Letarte and Jeff Burton. Jeff's been off for a few years, but those 3 guys, when you turn their broadcast on, their very first broadcast, you thought they'd been working together for 10 years.
Absolutely. It was so clean and precise, and they never talked over each other. They never contradicted each other. There was sometimes I sensed between Larry Mack and Darrell Waltrip that there was this fight of who could say it better and who knew it more.
Well, Larry Mack knows it more. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm 100% on your side of that, but DW just couldn't let things go. And you heard it, what was it, 2 weeks ago, I think at Auto Club, when Kevin Harvick decided to come in. Well, I'm trying to think of the situation again, but Harvick stayed out. He was on a different pit strategy than everyone else because of an issue they had earlier in the race. He had 6-7 laps on his tires, and everyone else came. And Gordon said that's going to hurt him, and everybody else said no. We think it's gonna be great. He's gonna maintain. And they fought about it for 20 minutes. And in the end, I think Gordon ended up being right, because Gordon's point was Kevin's not going to be able to take off and maintain his speed as well as everyone else, and he's going to fall back, which he did. Now, he only fell back 4 or 5 spots, but he fell back, and DW would not let it go all race long. Just
didn't hurt him too bad.
I got it right. I said it. I told you it hurt. And Jeff did the right thing and just shut his mouth and tried to continue on about the race. It ruined the broadcast for me. I was so bent out of shape about that, and it was a great race. But anyways, that was Krista Voda. Iowa native and host of NBC America. You can catch it weekdays again at 4 p.m. Central, and she will do the pre-race and post-race show when NBC takes over the coverage for NASCAR at Daytona for the Coke 0400. We got a big show still lined up for you for the rest of today. Turn number 2, the gas man, Jack Dover, driver of the number 53 Sprint car, will join us to talk about his 2016 race plans. In turn number 3, we will talk with the co-owner and promoter for I-80 Speedway, Joe Kosiski. And then in turn number 4, we will break down Martinsville Speedway, what we think is going to happen. And what do you think? Do you want to put even money on if Fox will sell it as the big payback race?
Oh, I'll lay odds. They're going to try to sell it as that for about 10 laps, and then they'll forget about it.
Oh, wait, no, we don't want to pay back quite yet, because we still got to get into the chase. It doesn't make any sense to do payback today.
The payback was paid back for already last year.
Yeah.
I mean, as your man Tony Stewart said, he didn't crash him, he junked him.
That was a great October race. We'll talk about the spring Martinsville race and so much more. A lot still to come here on the Front Stretch. We'll be back.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway, and I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Moms.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the radio show. Heading into turn number 2, and it's time to talk to the driver in the number 53 Home Pride Motorsports 360 Sprint car, for Nebraska 360s, or are you going to race NSL 360s?
We're going to do a little bit of everything this year.
All right, he's mixing it up. Looks like you got quite a few dates on your schedule this year.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm pretty excited about is we got 60 shows scheduled for this year. So hopefully we can reach the goal of 20 wins. That's been my goal the last 4 or 5 years, I think, and been real close. Hopefully we can get that goal this year.
That is the voice of the gas man, Jack Dover, frequent guest on the radio show, comes in every once in a while to keep us up to date with what's going on with his show. Looks like you were supposed to kick off your race weekend, your race season this weekend at I-80 Speedway for the Spring Meltdown. We talked to Joe Kosiski in turn number 3 about why that got canceled, but so now it looks like you're going to do it next weekend at the Bug Eater Bash.
Yeah, I think Joe made a good call, and everybody at I-80. I was actually down in Wichita this last weekend helping Cody Ledger. Just it wasn't even fun. It was miserable, cold, and
really?
If you're going to a race, you want to have fun, and when it's that cold, it's just miserable, and you don't want to be there. So I think they made the right call of going off the weather.
Yeah, and a lot of the race fans are dedicated, but you don't want to put them in that situation to have to be that dedicated to say, okay, I'll go out and I'll sit in the cold for 3-4 hours. I'll freeze my butt off to watch some okay racing, because it's not the greatest racing when the track is sealed down and frozen.
Right. I mean, they looked at everything. They looked at the fan standpoint, the drivers, the water situation there. They don't want their pipes freezing. So, yeah. I mean, they really did their research, and I think they made the right call.
How ready are you for next weekend?
We're 90%, just waiting on that 10%, and I'm going to get that this Friday. That's the motors. So
Stan said he's very proud of you because you got the car to him in time to get lettered and all set to go. In fact, I talked to Luke a couple of weeks ago. He didn't even know you'd taken the car down to get it lettered.
Yep, me and Stan set a date like a month and a half ago, and I had the car ready to go on the date, and it's been working out good, and hopefully the rest of the year goes that way.
Stan said he was able to stay out of the hospital with the shock he was in, too, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't get the last minute. I need my car lettered.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Much changes from the car from the 2015 car to this year? Did you get new body, new chassis, new anything?
It's all new again, and same sponsors, pretty much just all the same. Mm-hmm. We might have one other sponsor that's coming on board. Haven't heard from them yet. So other than that, we're same as last year.
Let's get it done. This is year. We've been talking about the year that we got to get you those big race wins and get you the real publicity so we can get you the big-time sponsors, and you can finally go and race a full season in the World of Outlaws.
I wouldn't even mind running an ASCS National Tour again. I mean, I want to get back out on the road again, that's for sure. That's
a tall order, because, I mean, gas prices are down a lot, but other prices are up, so it's still incredibly expensive to travel around to these tracks week to week.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about running the National Tour next year in 2017, and he was kind of asking me what I spent on stuff when I ran the National Tour, and I was like, man, gas prices were up, and we spent $13,000 on just fuel and pit passes, and I mean $56,000 on just tires for the race car. I mean, it all adds up pretty quick.
Wow.
So it's tough.
I'm almost dead certain that if we get you that one sponsor, that if you got to go race a World of Outlaws schedule, or even, like you said, an ASCS National, if you just got to go and have the pressure of the sponsors off your back, and you could just go out there and race, that within probably 6-7 races, you'd be winning. I think you'd be winning quite a bit to get a lot of attention, because we've talked about it a couple of times with drivers. Your talent level will raise when you're racing against those guys week in and week out.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Because, it's like, as much as you hate to see it, like the best example I can come up with off the top of my head is Kyle Burke against the World of Outlaw late model guys like the Jimmy Owens and the Scott Bloomquist. I think Kyle's just as talented, but he's not used to driving with those guys.
Right. And Kyle's been doing it so long, he's kind of set in his ways, but now you've got Tad's going to go out and try and race with the MLRA boys, and he's got enough talent, and he's young enough that it is going to skyrocket his career.
Yeah.
He's going to really shine here. He'll be, head and shoulders above everybody locally in a year or two.
I heard when you first came on the show years ago, you said that there was a window for you to be able to make your move into bigger racing, bigger touring series. But I think it was Casey Kane that said it. Maybe no, it wasn't Casey Kane. Who was it? About a couple of weeks ago said that when it comes, I think it was Shane Stewart. It says when it comes to sprint cars, you really don't find your groove until you're about 30. Do you feel like you found your groove, or do you feel like you're still learning every year, just the amount of stuff you're learning learning is just exponential.
I'm still learning a lot. I mean, I know quite a bit now, but like I was saying myself driving home from Wichita the other night, I want to learn more about the fuel systems, more about shocks. Just there's always something to be learned on the car, and always keeping up to date on technology stuff.
Shocks are changing every week,
exactly,
so you got to stay on top of that stuff anyway.
I've heard a couple of people tell me this about you, that if you decided not to be a driver anymore, that you would probably be one of the best crew chiefs out there, because the way you can diagnose a car is just sick. Have you ever thought about that? Like, I mean, not to I obviously don't want you to give up your racing crews. You're my favorite sprint car driver out there, but and that includes Tony Stewart, by the way. So.
I mean, helping Cody Ledger last weekend, it was kind of fun. I mean, I would rather be racing, that. But just sitting there and watching the car and really studying what it needed, it was actually kind of fun. And being able to help somebody go faster is always cool, too.
Well, that's what I like doing. That's why when I was back doing the stock car deal with Rick Holling and stuff, I liked working on the car and trying to figure that part of it out. Trying to drive once or twice would have been kind of fun, but that just wasn't in my cards, and I didn't mind it.
And like this last weekend, when we first got there, I felt Cody's shocks and all that stuff and went through the numbers. And I told Tracy, his dad, I said, he's going to go out there, and with the shocks he's got on now, he's going to be super loose. Sure enough, he came in, he goes, I'm super loose. Tracy looked at me, he goes, wow.
Yeah. And so it's a whole different ballgame when you're setting up a car for Cody, because I think he's got a different driving personality than you do.
Every driver does, yes.
Yeah. But it almost seems like he's kind of a timid guy. Am I right?
Yeah.
As to where when you're on the track, you're very aggressive. You understand that. I mean, you're one of the best at restarts. I've always been impressed with the way you're able to mix up the way you restart to throw off the guy behind you so they don't get a run on you. And then when you're the guy in the back, you're able to time things perfectly. And when there's a hole, man, you go for it.
That's right. I mean, you're kind of right there. I mean, I think he's a little timid yet. I mean, he's still a beginner, I think. Mm-hmm. And he was racing somebody this last weekend, and somebody kind of shut the door on him, and his whole, like, the way he raced the rest of the race was totally different.
How?
Just, I mean, he was running the top side, and then he went down low to pass this guy, and the guy shut the door on him, and he never went back to the top after that.
So he never tried to go back up to what got him there?
Nope. So, I mean, it's just experience. I mean, it'll come over the years.
What about your schedule this year? We talked, you're going to try to run some ASCS shows. NSL 360s, when we talked at the end of the year last year, your goal was to run the full season this year.
We were talking about that at the end of the last year, and we kind of changed our mind on that.
Yeah, because as much as I like the NSL, it doesn't feel like much of a touring series. It feels like the National Sprint League at Knoxville, and it
feels very regional.
Or Badlands.
Yeah, and so it's like we're going to go race at 2 tracks and then maybe a couple of them.
Yeah.
That doesn't really feel like a touring series to me.
We'll still run there quite a bit. We're going to go to Houston 10 times this year. I got some some races on my schedule for Montana and up that way. So.
Oh yeah, it looks like Randolph County Raceway in July.
Yep, and Rapid City Speedway up by Mount Rushmore. So.
Oh, cool.
Just trying to get out to different places. I mean, I've been there, but haven't been there for a while.
You ever been to Mount Rushmore?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was about 5, so I don't remember it.
You've got to take the opportunity, like when you go and race these races, and then say it's a Saturday night race, and you got nothing to do on Sunday. Go.
Yeah, I mean, if
go touring stuff and go see like the Badlands or Yellowstone or stuff like that.
Yeah, if you're that close, you might as well.
Yeah.
So
is that race anywhere close to Sturgis?
I'm sure Luke would like it if there was. He'd come along with you.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to this year. I mean, last year I think we got 45 shows in, so we're gonna try to get 15 more in this year and see if we can't reach that.
It's every one of those shows. I mean, you know this as well as anybody. You got to race so many times a year to start to build that foundation of understanding your car and the track conditions, which you've got, and then we just got to get you up there with racing some of the bigger talented drivers so that you can kind of learn from them a little bit too.
Yeah, and possibly open one of their sponsors' eyes, and then they want to switch drivers.
Yeah.
Or when somebody gets old like Steve Kinzer and Tony Stewart's footing his bill and racing once a month. Well, I don't want to let the car sit there the other 3 weeks. So
why not? I mean, let's call Joe Kosiski coming in next. He probably's got Tony's cell phone. Get that deal. Let's get that deal. They won't let me have it anymore.
Well, okay, anymore. There we go.
That was a police order thing.
Protection order. You've got his autograph.
Yeah, that was that night at Eagle, and then it all went downhill from there. Talking with Jack Dover, the gas man of the driving the number 53 Home Pride Motorsports sprint car throughout the Midwest. Looks like you got Knoxville National 360s and 410s on the schedule. I'm really excited to see you back out there in the 410s. I know that you can do it in the 360s. We just got to keep that car healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the problem last year was you had a problem with the engine, right?
Yep, and the 410s every year has been engine issues. So we finally got rid of our 410. So I don't have a 410 right now. So we just plan on renting a Ford from my motor builder and see what we can do with that.
Okay. And is that still Chris Moss?
Yep.
Moss?
Yep.
Any, besides racing 60 races, your goal of getting 20, you said 20 wins?
20 wins. Yeah.
20 wins. Any other championships you're eyeing? I know you're not a championship guy because you're not a touring series kind of a follower, but any championships or anything like that you're eyeing you really want to get?
No championships. I was thinking, like I said, I think a lot when I go down the road. So I was thinking also our night coming home from Wichita, it'd be cool to get a win in like 5 different series or 6 different series. See if we can't win one in each series.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. And obviously put that Knoxville National win on the. That'd
be the highlight of my career right there.
We got to make that a bigger highlight though. I think your goal should be to win a truck race at Eldora.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that's think big.
Well, you got a sponsor that could do that for you if you wanted to. Luke, you listening?
Yeah.
Come on, Luke. Let's get a little deep. I know he's a great sponsor and he does a lot for this sport. I'm really impressed with the way he's kind of stepped up over the last couple of years and supported the sport and supported drivers and those guys that looking to that just need a good sponsor.
Yeah, it's just not us drivers that he helps. I mean, he does the money grab for I-80 for the kids, and I mean, he'd be willing to help anybody off the street. He's just an awesome guy.
He says that he always likes to sponsor champions, and I think that's kind of a convenient way for him to say no to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if a charismatic person came along and wooed him in the right way, I think he would find a way to sponsor him.
Oh yeah, he definitely would.
And hint at some rumors out there looking for a good sponsor, but don't take any money away from Jack. We got to get this guy. We got to get this guy his new 410 engine, and we got to get that stuff done. So
yeah, I think that yellow 53 would look real good on a truck. I mean, between Luke and Pete, I think they could take care of you.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
It'd be a good looking truck too.
What did we figure it was to sponsor a truck series truck for one race? It was like
for one race. I know the going deal used to be back in like 2001. Brendan Gaughan's dad. They were running the Winston West series, and Brendan was the defending champion for the series, and they were going to branch into the trucks for their move up. And they paid an outfit out of Texas that ran a part-time schedule, $500,000 for 4 races.
Okay,
so $1.25 a race.
See, and I think that's gone down. I think the last I heard it was somewhere around $85,000 a race. Maybe it was somewhere closer to $100,000, but I heard Cup Series was about $250 a race. Xfinity was $175 to $150, and trucks were about $180 to $100,000, depending on your organization.
And the biggest deal between like Xfinity and Cup cars is a tire bill.
Yeah,
that's the hugest expense.
Oh my God, the amount
engines
of tires
are different and stuff, but the trucks and Xfinity both have max tires they get. Like Truck Series used to be 5 sets for the weekend. I don't know if it's still 5, but it's what it used to be.
Yeah,
where a Cup was unlimited.
Well, actually, I learned this. A Cup is limited, but they give them so many that they usually don't hit that limit. I mean, it's a pretty, because the only reason why it's a limit is because Goodyear can only bring so many tires to the track.
Right.
And then there's places like Auto Club that if Cup Series guys could pit every 20 laps, they would.
Yeah. There's no rule against that.
I always ask this to some of the bigger interviews that we do, some of the Cup Series guys, but tell me one thing about dirt racing that you would change if you were, say, the god of dirt racing. So anything at all. I mean, physics be damned. What is one thing you would change?
Best answer so far is Rico Abreu.
Right, absolutely. Rico Abreu said that he would make it so that all kids under 12 got into the races for free.
That's a pretty good one.
We've also had that tires never wore. So tires would never wear off, and you would always have a fresh set of tires.
You'd always have good tires.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Now it could be you only have to run one set of shocks. I mean, what's your biggest expense when you're going down the road? When you're racing each race weekend, it's tires.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything? Would it be?
Mine would probably be
free food in the pits.
Yeah. No, mine would probably be like if there's a fight in the pit area, or if somebody got out of their car on the racetrack, it'd be automatically a $500 fine or kicked out for 3 or 4 races.
That's easily doable.
Yeah.
And that's something that honestly should be there.
Yep.
Actually, it's something that shouldn't be there because it never should have to happen.
Right.
I mean, you should have this. I know that you get pretty hot behind the wheel, and I've been a victim of road rage from my own. I mean, I shouldn't say a victim, but I've had road rage before to where I finally got calmed down, and I was like, wow, that got pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But you wish that it would never have to escalate to that because it's in the end, it's still just racing.
Right.
And it's still just trying to go out there and have a good time.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. You get rid of fights in the pits. I'm quitting going. I'm not going to go to the races no more.
Yeah. What are you listening to when you're going down down the road?
A little bit of everything.
Satellite?
Yeah.
You got, what's your stations?
I got all the ones on Sirius.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Octane, and there's a new one they have on the app. It's called Turbo. It's all 90s rock.
Really?
So, it's a Marilyn Manson and Korn and Godsmack and Disturbed. It's the real aggressive rock that was really good during the 90s and the turn of the 2000s.
I catch myself listening to a lot of the 90s on 9.
Yeah, I like that station too. When you're going home tonight, Turbo took over Octane for one day. When you're going home, turn it on. You'll love it.
I'll do that.
Well, I'm proud to say that I listen to ESPN radio 99% of the time in my car.
Well, and the only reason why I have satellite is because of NASCAR radio. That's the only other source I can go to have good conversation. Obviously besides the front stretch every Sunday morning here on AM 590, but it's the only other place I can go to have that up-to-date NASCAR talk and that everyday conversation, listen to the fans call in and hearing what is the real topics that's going on in the NASCAR world.
Channel 90.
Yeah, NASCAR Channel 90.
But see, they need us to be on every day, so then they'd have something later in the day to talk about.
I'm trying to tell them. I'm talking to them over there. I'm saying, hey, listen, we'll come and do our show for you. You just pay us a couple $100,000 a year, and we'll come do our show for you.
There you go.
We were spoke with Krista Voda.
Yeah, earlier today from NBC.
We're trying to put in some words for us.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I think we got banned on their email list too. It's amazing how fast we get banned on things.
What did you do this time?
I think you could sit in here all night, every night.
It would be a dream come true. I mean, I have fun doing the hour that we do on Sunday mornings, but there's quite a few days. Like today is turning into a day that I needed more time. I definitely need more than an hour.
Well, and we could have probably got 45 minutes or an hour with Krista this morning. She was going to talk all day.
And we talked for 10 minutes about Iowa. Who knew there was that much talk about Iowa?
I didn't think so.
Yeah, but she's from Iowa, Dan's from Iowa. I was over here taking a nap.
Catch him this coming weekend for the Bug Eater Bash at I-80 Speedway. Hopefully the weather holds out and we're able to have it. He'll be in the 53 Home Pride Motorsports sprint car racing for the Nebraska 360 Sprints. Good luck to you, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Good having you on again. We'll see you again soon.
Jack.
We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the show. Heading into turn number 3, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Go Bowling 400 are on sale now for the Saturday night, May 7th race. Call 866-460-RACE. Visit KansasSpeedway.com. By the way, time is running out for you to get involved in the Kansas Speedway 5-week contest.
Green flag drops today for Martinsville. Get her started. 4 freebies to the winner.
A little bit after, looks like noon is when the green flag drops on FS1, so make sure you get your email into frontstretch590@gmail.com. We'll send you all the contests, all the rules, but it's pretty easy. Pick your driver. If you get the most points by the end of the 5 weeks, you could be headed to Kansas Speedway on us.
Just don't pick the same driver twice.
Joining us in the studio, the man, the myth, the legend, Smokin' Joe Kosiski, driver of the number 53. Hey, look at that. We got a pair of 53s in the studio. Jack Dover's still hanging out with us after talking to us last turn. How's everything coming together for the I-80 Speedway schedule?
I-80 Speedway schedule looks, I think, absolutely magnificent for the year.
I think it looks pretty good. Get that microphone just a little bit closer to you, would you? There you go. Perfect. Sad news. Looks like you guys had to cancel the Spring Meltdown, but that was kind of a forced hand, right?
Well, it was one of them things that I was out there working Saturday. My wife was working. We couldn't come up with hot water. We couldn't clean the kitchens. We're a week away looking at the weather forecast. On Saturday, the weather forecast, and we go a lot by AccuWeather.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's weather, so it's going to change.
Exactly.
You know,
but we do AccuWeather more than weather.com or one of them. But the AccuWeather is was saying that seems to be fairly close most of the time.
Yeah.
It said we had a cold spell coming after Wednesday. We're supposed to have some heavy rains. Mm-hmm. With the rains, we probably probably could have got the track done, but, it doesn't dry at this time of the year like it does later in the year.
Yeah.
So practice would have been wiped out with any rains, and it was only going to be like in the 44 range for a high on Thursday and Friday. Well, 44 is all right if you're going to dress in winter clothes, but let's face it, we work hard to try to make the racetrack give everyone a good feel when they leave. We want them to come back, and you don't want to start them out at the beginning of the year saying, it was too cold, I'm not coming back next week, or at the end of the month. I don't want them saying, I don't want to come back next year. This is always one of my favorite races, so I'm sick to my stomach. I'm out there going, man, what are we going to do? And the temperatures on Saturday at the time were showing from Friday night to Saturday morning were showing to be about 24 or 25 degrees with a real feel of 20 degrees. And I'm going, all of our exposed water lines, once we turn our well on and pump it to the top, it takes us about 3 barrels of antifreeze and to get it all it's not like you're sitting all your winterized. It's not like yours coming from home where you can just shut it off and say, I can drain the toilet and be all right. Rich Bellino, when he used to own it, he had about 23 toilets. He told me one year he opened on April 15th and had about 23 toilets explode on him.
Ooh.
And he thought he was all right because they're inside the building, and the pump house, you just got too much work, and the cost of everything is so expensive. And I wanted to make sure the fans I didn't wait till Wednesday till it started raining or wait till Thursday. A lot of these guys got wives, these young guys. I mean, we're sitting here looking at Jack. He's got a girlfriend. He might have had a birthday party this week. This way he can make plans. I can make it. I don't make my wife mad because Tuesday night I couldn't come to the birthday party, but Wednesday they call the races off. Well, that's all right. Now you could go to the birthday party type of an answer. So I thought this is the right thing to do. Let's hope all the people don't drive out there. And that's all I'm after is that the people don't get there. And I tried to get everybody to put it on their Facebook, all the sanctioning bodies to get it out so they understood. I'm sorry, one time in 10 years, I think it's a pretty good lick that we've made it through all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jack did have plans this weekend, and they had nothing to do with any birthday parties.
Well, that's good.
As much as it stings to say it, because it was just a bad situation, but I think it was the right call. We'd have all loved to have been out there. I know you'd have loved to have a packed stands or a full pits or a great racing action so that everyone could have enjoyed it, because we're all ready to get back to dirt racing. There's been a couple of good racing nights for the last couple of weeks at other tracks, and we were ready to get back out I-80, but it's just not going to happen. And so we're going to have to wait till this coming weekend with the Bug Eater.
I couldn't take the chance of turning my water on and having something happen. It just isn't worth it. And a cold experience to the fan, the drivers, and the crews, it isn't worth that for them to go home thinking of that.
Well, I know the Phoenix race got me ready to see some local action.
There you go.
That was it's been some great racing action. Did you get to go to Phoenix? I think you went to.
I've only been to Daytona so far.
Okay, that's right. And then we got Martinsville this weekend. Have you ever you've been to Martinsville?
I've been to Martinsville. I actually drove a BGN car around Martinsville back
What's
in
a BGN car?
Busch Grand National. Back in the 80s, they were called Busch Grand National, not Xfinity. But
I'm just learning the Busch Grand National series, and now you go and put abbreviations on it. I can't handle it.
Okay, well, it was a Busch Grand National car back in 87, 88. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I believe it was 87. Might have been, it was either late 86 or 87. And Keith Kanaka was the present owner of IMCA, and Keith took me up there. I won the national championship in 86. And he says, come on up. He says, I got a few extra dollars this year. He says, I want to rent you a car and have you come up and drive the car up here. And he rented a car from Tommy Houston, and it was a real good car, and I had some real good runs. But back then, if it rained, if you got qualified, you was all right. But if you didn't get qualified, they didn't go by practice laps in order to put you in the race. I would have been in the race, but I didn't get the opportunity because it rained out qualifying. So they just went straight to the race on Saturday, and I never got a chance to run.
It stinks. Let's look at the I-80 Speedway schedule. Looks like your guys' first big race. Obviously, we got the Bug Eater Bash coming up this weekend with the A-Mods, Brag and Wright late models, Grand Nationals, B-Mods, Stock Cars, Hobby Stocks, and then same class on Saturday night, but Jack and the Nebraska 360s are going to come over. Now, that's a makeup race for what was supposed to happen this weekend, right?
I've got the A-Mods there from last week, and they're there this week, so we're all right there. This helps out the Nebraska 360 sprinters. I would have done something with the late models, but they were going to be in Wheatland, Missouri, so I had no choice for them, and I just don't have another weekend to pop them in right now.
Then looks like your NASCAR Weekly Racing Series kicks off with Autism Awareness Racing Night on April 22nd. And Sprint Series in Nebraska going to make their return this year. Are they coming 2 or 3 times this year?
One time.
One time this year?
They've come one time each
Okay.
year. That's kind of what we've made an agreement, that I would run them one time each year, and they try to help the Nebraska 360s out this year at Eagle Raceway. They're going to put a 360 show on, and I told them that we'll run this one, and we made some good agreements, and I think it was a great thing for both tracks and both series.
First weekend in May looks like it's going to be the I-80 Dirt Classic with the NSL 410 sprint cars and B modifieds. Any other stuff going on that night that might happen maybe we could talk about?
Well, I'm not really going to guarantee anything, but the guy that's helping us put that race on is Jared Adams from down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's 25% the promoter with Phil Durst and Jim Huffman and ourselves. We're all doing a 25% of it, and Jared just happens to be Casey Kane's brother-in-law.
Oh,
he's married to Casey's sister.
Well,
so
where's Casey going to be that weekend?
Casey's going to be giving us a ride back from Kansas Speedway in his helicopter so we can come to the race too.
I doubt that'll happen, but Jared's trying to line up to get Casey to come up and get Kyle Larson to possibly come up. A couple of them guys, Truck Series is running that night. Not going to be important to them. They'd rather be at some nice dirt race, watching Jack Dover run a 410 around the track, and Danny Lasowski and Brian Brown and some of them guys. So they're going to be up here, I'm sure, probably watching the race. Might see 4 or 5 of them from what I'm understanding, and we might see none. Can't say yet because we don't know.
It kind of depends on what their weekend turns out to be.
Yes, we don't know what they're going to have for commitments to their sponsors, and if they have to be at an Outback signing autographs or somewhere else for their sponsors.
Yeah, they might have to do an interview with the front stretch that night. You just never know.
Well, I'll bet they could pass the front stretch to be up here. They'll tell front stretch, get back to Omaha where you belong.
Then your next big race after that, May 24th, the Go 50. Now, you and I had about a 2-hour conversation about this. Let's sum it up into a couple of minutes. Go 50. What is the Go? Why the Go 50?
Well, to me, you want something that's action. You want everybody, where do you want them? You want them to come to the races?
Yeah.
You want the cars to go? You want everything about it. Plus, anytime, if we can pick a sponsor up for that race, which I'm hoping to pick, I've been talking to a couple. I haven't got nothing signed for sure. But, let's just use front stretch Go 50.
Yeah.
Or, I seen since we named that race, they all of a sudden come up with the Go Bowling 400 at Kansas Speedway. I went, what the heck? I said the Go goes with everything. So, I had a lot of fun poked at me when that first came out, and I said, I know a guy in a salvage business, and they sold their business out for $50 million before he bought a salvage business, and now he sold it out for a lot of money. And I'm talking to him, and he says, anytime you want to name something, you want to name it with some kind of a action because it works so easy. Well, he had a You Pull It, and so his Go, You Pull It. I mean, how much better could it be? But his name of his salvage yard was Go, and I was driving through Jacksonville back from Daytona, and we could not come up with a name, and I sent back probably 100 names to Lee. We put it on the internet. Nothing felt right. You got to have something that feels. And I didn't want something that was bigger than the Silver Dollar Nationals, because what would you rather win, the Go 50 or the Silver Dollar Nationals? Well, so I got thinking the King of America, the King of this, the King, dirt track, so on and so forth. Everything just sounded too good that I didn't want to butt up against the Silver Dollar Nationals. I want it to be big. I want the Silver Dollar Nationals to be the crown jewel. So,
and this is kind of an actionable word. It's simple. It's easy to remember. It's the Go 50 at I-80 Speedway.
And it's the 53rd most used word in the dictionary.
Hashtag Go 50. Are we doing
53rd
that?
53rd word.
I'm telling you, that's what I think it was destiny.
Yes. Yeah. Hashtag Go 50. There you go.
By the way, I'm going to the casino tonight. I'm putting it all on 53. I don't
you
know
go.
if I can because I don't know anything about gambling, but I'm going to put it on 53, and I'm probably going to lose my money.
You can only do that if you're dyslexic.
Okay.
Because then they've got 35. They don't have 53.
I was going to say, do they have a 53 at the casino? I'm trying to think what he was going to play.
Unless he's playing Keno.
He might. Yeah, but he could go get one of the machines that have 53 in the code number, in the machine.
Nah, I could do that. Charlie Clark Memorial.
53. I know somebody that does that.
My favorite race, the Charlie Clark Memorial, is returning on May 29th. A-Mods, B-Mods, Hobby Stocks Grand Nationals, Brag and Right Late Models. Races start at 6. That's a Sunday night before Memorial Day race. That's my favorite one. You're doing the same format, right?
We're going to be real close. I might do the qualifying a little different. I like to come up with different ideas, and I've got a little bit of different, and I don't know which race I'm going to use it on this year. I want to see how it's going to work because I'm getting kind of tired of the old just a heat race. You know, sometimes you get an 8-car heat race and you got I don't want to make fun of Jack and them, but when I go watch them guys, they're so fast. It's great. But when you got 8 cars on the track, it's not enough action to have 8 cars.
Right.
So what can we do to make more action all at the same time? And I don't know what it is, but I'm going to come up with it. I promise you, I'm going to come up with it. I've got ideas rolling through my head already.
Are we still going to do the A feature where you do the laps,
yes,
then the break?
Yes, 22 laps.
I love that.
Do the 3-minute break or whatever we decide the break was.
I think we did 4 minutes last year. I think we should cut it down. It seemed like they had way too much time.
I don't want them to have so much time. I want them to have time just to basically wipe the sweat off the driver's head, hand him a bottle of water, and make a quick change.
Yeah, I think the first year it was 2 minutes and 22 seconds to go along with the 22 theme, but then I think they upped it to 3 minutes or 4 minutes or something this year. Let's go back to that 2 minutes 22.
I think it used to be 5 minutes, wasn't it?
No, it never was 5. I think we're going to go back to the 2:22 because I think they have to work a little faster and a little more exciting.
That hectic nature really kind of it's a pit stop is basically what it is.
That's what it is, and they only take about 10 seconds at Daytona and that kind of places. So
11 and a half's a good one.
Yeah.
Why do we need more than 2 minutes and 22 seconds?
I don't know.
That's giving them plenty of time.
Let's not make it easy on these guys. Got to keep it hard.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. World of Outlaws
and the SLMR Series making the return June 22nd. That should be another good race. Can we get Danny Lasowski to go 2 for 2?
I don't know. That's
a great race.
Tough. That was a great race. The last 2 years, that race has been good. Joey Saldana won it the year before, and Lasowski won it last year. And both years, it was by less than a car length. You know,
so
a sprint car ain't as big as most cars, so a car length's short on a sprint car.
We got to get another local guy that's really good in sprint cars to win that race. Okay. I wonder if there's anybody we've got.
We could call down and talk to Donnie Drought, maybe, or.
Oh.
I had to say that while Jack is sitting here.
I know. We tried to get Rico Abreu to come to that race, but he's got prior commitments. I'm still hoping that you can pull those strings for me.
Well, I could give him a call if you want me to.
Let's see. Prelude to the Silver Dollar Nationals, then the 6th Annual Silver Dollar Nationals. $40,000 to win this year?
$40,000 to win. And we raised the purse all the way through this year on that Silver Dollar Nationals.
So it's not just more to win, it's more all around.
Right. $40,000, though.
Midwest Fall Brawl, you're still working out details on that in the Cornhusker Classic.
The reason the Midwest Fall Brawl, it's pretty much booked and signed.
Okay.
It's an ASCS national show.
Good.
So we're still staying with Emmett as we've done in the past. It'll be a $6,000 to win show, so it's going to be a good show for 360s. I mean, that's quite a bit. That's half your season for the Nebraska 360. You know what I mean? So, and I raised that purse all the way. I want to say it's $500 to start, so I'm making it, and it's a one-day show. But what we're going to do is the qualifying is going to be a little more hectic. They're going to run double heat races, and when we get done with the double heats, so every driver will have to run 2 heats to get your passing points. Then we're going to take, out of the 16 top passing points, we're going to take the last 10 and put them in a more or less a dash.
Yeah.
And the last 6 cars after a 6-lap race is going to drop out. That's where they'll start 16th to 12th.
Okay.
That'll leave me 4 cars will move up. That'll leave me 10 cars left. So in other words, you could have been 16th in passing points and still have the chance to start on the pole of the feature.
Okay.
But I'm not going to give them a stop. They're going to stay on the track. The next 6 cars are going to pull out on the front with them 4 bringing up the back, and we're going to go at it again for another 6 laps. So it's going to be different. You know, a lot of the guys will tell you, oh, well, my tires ain't going to work if I'm running that first set. I need to stop and put a different set of tires on. No. Guess what? You were going to start 16th if I didn't give you this opportunity to get the first. You got to understand, I like to run things that are different. So
I-80 Speedway.com. You can get weekend packages available. Silver Dollar National tickets are available. SLS World of Outlaw tickets are all available. It's easy to convenient.
Season tickets. Season tickets.
Go 50's available.
Yeah, and actually, starting tomorrow on competing radio station, we're going to have some one more set of season passes available for auction. So head over to the Front Stretch Facebook page. We'll put that link up so that you can get a discount. I think they're valued at like $600, and you can get them for as low as $250. So it's a great deal. It's a great deal. And go over to the Facebook Front Stretch page for that tomorrow, and we'll get you that information. We've gone long, as always. Love talking to you, Joe. Best of luck this season. We'll come back at turn number 4 to wrap it all up. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway. And I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Moms.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Rolling high, wide, and handsome into turn number 4. Are you the handsome or am I the handsome?
It's definitely not me. I got a face for radio.
Together we make a... We're getting there on the handsome part. But talking about Martinsville Speedway, we've gone long, all showed long. Great. Krista Voda, great in turn number 1. Jack Dover, great as always in turn 2. And of course, Joe, I always love talking to Joe. He's got that silky voice. He's able to just talk. And I always love, when Steve came in and did his interview, he said, just remember, Dan, Joe's the politician of the family.
That's exactly what he said.
He goes, Joe and I think the same way, but Joe knows how to say it. I don't.
If I can't get it out of my mouth, I just turn and walk away.
Results from the Spring Martinsville race in 2015. Denny Hamlin had the best car all race long, but he had a little issue on pit road several times, whether it was speeding, a loose tire, going through too many pit boxes. The boy just has problems at Martinsville when it comes to pit road. So maybe he'd be a car to bet on.
He's got a lot of clocks.
Yeah, for today's race, very good car. Brad Keselowski finished second. Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth, and David Reagan as he was substituting in the 18 car from Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr., Danica Patrick, she wasn't one of those cars that just popped up in the end. She did very well all race long.
It's because everybody else kept screwing up on pit road and having to go back behind her.
That could have been. She also had a very fast car. I mean, I like to give her grief whenever she's due. And the October race, she was given grief because she was trying to wreck another car and ended up wrecking herself. But she did very well for herself. Kevin Harvick, 8th, Jeff Gordon, 9th, and Jamie McMurray finished 10th. Tough days for a couple of cars. As I believe Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chase Elliott, and his debut, Jimmy Johnson, finished 35th. Trying to find my notes on what happened with Jimmy Johnson. Ryan Newman did not have a good day. Neither did Paul Menard, Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle. Carl Edwards was up there for a little while, led once for 13 laps, ended up finishing 17th on the lead lap, one of the few cars left on the lead lap. So maybe if we're thinking early today without seeing practice results and qualifying, I think Denny Hamlin should be up on your list because, again, he did very well in the October race, but he got marred back in traffic several times with pit road speeding penalties and then was involved in an accident.
Well, all the Gibbs cars do pretty good up there. I mean, Kyle Busch won the first Martinsville race last year, wasn't it? When he came, no, he didn't win the first one. He won New Hampshire, where he came back.
Yeah.
He came back to New Hampshire. Those two tracks, to me, when you watch them on TV, they're very similar. Mm-hmm. Except obviously New Hampshire's a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's got more of a less angled banking or corners, so it's a much more wide track.
Well, it's a mile long as opposed to a half mile, so
but it's still a thin, fast track. But
right.
Yeah. All right, race today on Fox Sports 1, so we switch over from the Fox channels over to FS1 and kicks off for the STP 500. Coverage kicks off at 11, green flag just a little bit after noon. Make sure you get your pick in on time, and if you're playing the Kansas Speedway contest, it is free to enter. And if you're playing the season-long and the Kansas Speedway contest, do me a favor and tell me which one you're picking for both series so that I can be clear about that.
No NBC this week?
No NBC. We still got to wait a couple more weeks for the good guys to take back over. Thanks to everybody who joined us on the show this morning. Thanks to you for joining us and listening in on Sunday morning. And make sure you get your tickets to the Go 50 at I-80 Speedway. We'll be back next weekend to do it all again. Hey, live next weekend, by the way, as we follow up the Texas race.
Don't forget the wake-up call.
That's going to be rough. We'll see you next weekend live and in charge as the front stretch rolls on. We'll see you next weekend here on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.